Welcome to GoalieShare and HockeyShare. We're back again with Economou and Eric Hoffberg. And today we're going to talk about a way to help head coaches connect with their goaltenders. In particular, we've asked Econ to kind of come up with, he came up with 4 really cool statements and phrases that you can say to your goaltenders in practice. And we're going to visit about game talk in a different video, but in this one we're going to focus on practice. And Econ came up with 4 great phrases and sayings that you can kind of use to engage your goaltender. So Econ, why don't you share with us those phrases to get your goalies engaged?
So I think it's really important for the coach to create a mindset for the goalie. It shows that you care about him, you know, that you're watching him. You know, it takes a lot of, it takes about 10 seconds to tell your goalie, hey, I care, I want you to be good today. So the first thing I came up with was, you need to be the best player on the ice today. And just to walk up to your goalie and say, hey, you have to be great today. I want you to stop pucks today. It's really an easy thing to get that goalie motivated. The second thing is something that I used to do myself. I used to say, I want to touch every single puck today. So you could go right up to your goalie and go, hey, you need to touch every single puck. Nothing beats you clean today. So that would be the second thing. The third, I want to hear you communicate. Communication is key. You know, it makes your goalie engaged in practice, and it's a small thing that you can say to him that will help out your defenseman. It creates game situations, and a lot of times I'll tell guys, hey, I want to hear you talk. I want to know what your goalie IQ is right now. You know, just by how you're handling situations in practice, because it's the same as games. And the last thing I came up with is, if you wanted to bring both your goalies together, you can almost challenge them to say, who's going to be the better guy today? You know, who is my guy? I want you to compete against each other. I'm going to be watching both of you. And, you know, these small little statements to your goalie, like I said before, tells them that you care and that you're paying attention to them. And I believe something small like this will pay huge dividends.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking your goalies from kind of that passive role inside of a practice, and you're making them an active role, right? Just like a head coach is going to do with his players, you're going to bring in the players, and you know, let's be honest, 99.9% of the chalk talk that you're doing on a whiteboard is typically focused around what the skaters are doing. It's not the goaltenders. So it's a really cool way. And Hoff, obviously, you working in the mental toughness side of the world, I'd love to get your take on what some of this stuff does to players.
Well, I think what you just said, too, is so true, in that as head coaches, as much as we'd like to think that we're different, we tend to, like you talk about whiteboarding and that, and 90 or more % of everything that we put together is directed at the defensemen and the forwards. And so this is where it becomes imperative to grab the goalie or goalies before practice and to give them something individual. And I was thinking about what Econ was saying in terms of, you know, I want you to be the best player out on the ice today. And I think there's so many personalities that are goaltenders that actually want that challenge, right? They want me as the head coach because it's going to help their mindset. Like Econ said, a head coach can create a mindset for a goalie in absolutely every single training session and every single practice. And so there's a lot of personalities, right, Econ, that we know as goaltenders that they want to be challenged. They want me as the head coach to say, look, at today in practice, I want you to compete, and I want you to show everybody out on the ice that you're the best player out here. That just is so much good energy for a certain goalie to have. I think that there's other goalies that maybe need a little bit more, maybe a supportive comment around, you know, just feeling the sense of, I'm watching you. And that, by the way, this is a great practice for you to be working on your game. We're doing a lot of battle drills, and I want you fighting through screens. I want you smothering pucks. I want you really active in there. It takes, like Econ said, 10 seconds, 15 seconds of gold that you can create with your goaltender to, you know, to make this connection and to give them a sense of belonging, to give them a sense of ownership, that how the practice is going to go has a lot to do with that goaltender, which I think is also really important. I don't want my goalies taking any time off. I think one of the things that can happen too, Econ, is that I'm going to set up certain drills as a head coach that are going to be hard for the goaltender to really keep it real because it's going to be too rapid. That's not a true game situation for that many for that many 2-on-0s to come that fast. It just doesn't happen. And so I like what you said about touch every puck. You might not be able to make every save, but try to get something on every puck. I'm not expecting you to make every save, but I want you to kind of work your way through some of these really fast flow drills that we're going to be doing. I've got to do these drills for these forwards and defensemen. So you got to keep it real as much as you can. Stay in there, compete in there, but I'm not thinking you're going to be able to make every save, but touch every puck. Is that what you're getting after when you say that sort of thing?
Absolutely. You're creating that competitive spirit in the goalie. And again, it really takes little time to make that happen. And when your goalie is good on the ice, your team is going to be better also.
Right.
I mean, obviously, if you're scoring on every single shot, guys aren't going to try as hard.
Right.
Goalie usually dictates the level of performance of that practice for the team.
Right. Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And the other thing I'll add to that is that I also think the goaltender plays a big part in the development of players through the process, and especially if you're trying to work in, like, let's say defenseman's an easy example, right? You got a new D that you're working in. If he knows that he can make a mistake and go work through that process, and it's not going to end up in the back of the net every time, that's a much different feeling for that D if and when he makes that mistake than the other way. And so hopefully he can build on some momentum, realize he can't make that mistake, right? And the goaltender bailed me out, and next time make that adjustment, but much different feeling for him.
Right, and I would add to Econ's point about challenging or encouraging or directing my goaltenders in practice to be on top of the communication. How about I say to the goalie, Econ, you're my goalie, and I pull you aside before and I say, this team goes as you go, Econ. You're the one that get things started. I need this team talking. This team's going to talk to each other if it starts at the net. And so I need you communicating out here today. I want you everywhere that you can, even on the most obvious plays. You should be talking to your defenseman. Get it out, right up, whatever you can do to help get that communication going. This gives him a sense of leadership. It gives him, again, the sense of ownership. By the way, too, it also gives me a chance to compliment him at the end of practice for how I laid out the expectation. Econ, great job today. See what I mean?
Yeah, that's great coaching.
The team gets talking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I think so. What were you saying when we were getting ready for the call, Kevin? Just a little bit about some of your dialogue with your goaltenders this past year.
Yeah, so my dialogue, I had two guys who had a little bit different mindset that you needed them to get into. So one of them was control the crease, right? Just take that ownership and be that guy and be strong and fight for everything in there. And the other guy, the saying I always used for him was, let's be on top of the play today. We're not falling behind the play at all. And that was just in terms of the lateral movement of the play, and especially when it went behind him. But it's always interesting because they respond very well to that. And I think, like you guys, like we just talked about, it's that engagement, right? It gives them that mental focus, just like we ask our players, hey boys, let's get a lot of shots. Let's make sure we get the pucks to the net and we drive hard today. It's that little command, that little cue to get guys going. And obviously these are adapted to the guys that are playing for me. Right.
Econ, would you say just a little bit more about how you build up the language of goalie mode? So if you're saying that you're looking for more goalie mode, like I'm really going to watch you today and I want goalie mode today, and I want you to be more disciplined, then what else are you saying? Like, are you describing what does goalie mode look like? So give those that are listening and watching this, like, what are they saying to the goalie to get him to be in more goalie mode? What's the discipline? Is it like stay low? What would be like some of the next things that you'd say?
Well, it is. It's not lackadaisical. I want you unbelievable effort to arrive early on plays.
Right.
Create real game situations and treat it like it's a real game. Not just make the save and say, "Oh, I'm taking the next puck off."
Right.
We need to keep pushing the goaltenders for more. And the only way to make them stronger is for them to do things over and over and over again and get good quality reps all the time.
Right. I like for my goalies to hear from me, always looking to get better, always working on our game, and make it part of the culture, make it something that they're used to hearing from me. That, hey, every practice is a chance to get better. In all these drills, there's things for you to be working on. We're always looking to get better. I think another thing, and Econ, you and I have talked a lot about this in terms of the training that you do as a goalie coach around the emphasis on getting guys to be present and in the moment, and how often, you're trying to remind them of that or giving them the chance to reload So it's a second part of, you know, a training session. You let them get the water, then you bring them back and you say, all right, let's be in the moment here. This is what we're going to do. We just a little bit about that, just in terms of why that matters for a head coach to be even, you know, using that language. Be present, be in the moment, right here, right now. What's going on?
Well, it's a great point, because goaltenders, I mean, think about this. They work really hard for 20, 30 seconds, and then the puck goes to the other end. Okay, so now the goalie relaxes, and then all of a sudden, boom, it comes right back at you. So then they has to refocus and go back into goalie mode. So to create that type of situation in practice and recognize it if your goalie is or is not doing that is something that the head coach can say, hey, come on, get your head in the game. We need you to be in that goalie mode and ready to rock and roll.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, that's I mean, it's great. Obviously, head coaches, engage your goaltenders. You know, these little comments, and like you said, Econ, what, you know, 15 seconds takes to pull them aside, say something, get them engaged, get them in goalie mode, get them set to go, and really set your team up for long-term success. And so I'm excited to see what you're going to have to say when we discuss what to say during game settings, because I think that brings a whole nother, you know, level of communication in and level of engagement with the goaltenders. So great having you guys, and we look forward to the next video.
Thanks.
Thanks.